Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to your July 10th horoscope for 2024. Well, this Venus it's its last full day in Cancer. It's going to come, it's going to oppose Pluto. We've got Jupiter making aspects to the nodes. This is a leveling up time, flat out. I know it may not seem like it because maybe we're trying to find comfort emotionally, or maybe even just like comfort in our busyness and our work, but like this is really a time to like start to hear the gentle calling inside that these are wake up moments for us to make sure we know who we really are, the little changes that we need to make to have a bigger, better reality, and knowing what those values are, that we're going to clearly see what needs to be disconnected from and or transformed. And this includes relationships, this includes money situations. This is, I think, going to be taking a really big look at effort. I mean, Venus is also making aspects to Neptune, and so the intuition emotionally is already there of like what we need to do. It's just we need to make sure that we're not emotionally slipping by actually being able to see what is happening and then like shoving it in the shadows. And there's also another aspect too where it's like you have to look at the flip, because it's Neptune, where it's like making sure it's not like sabotaging behavior, that it's not like telling sort of like white lies with things in order to just like keep things like stable and calm seas, when really with that South Node in Libra that Jupiter's making aspects to, it's sort of just like, hey, like the reality of the world, your relationships, especially the justice, the balance, the peace that we all seek, it's only going to come from a belief that is like, we get to choose our thoughts. We get to choose where our attention goes, where our energy flows. I talked about this yesterday. It's like where we get to tune into our frequency, essentially. We get to choose that. And once we've elected that frequency and sort of chosen our avatar, if you will, then we just have to stand firm in that. And even though these are times naturally where there's going to be other aspects of ourselves, other aspects of our thinking that may want to pull us in different directions, there's sort of a heightened sense of intuitive awareness of the things that want to like have us like sort of drift subconsciously and sort of like slip up and maybe listen to basically a sub persona that's trying to protect us from change, and change right now I think can feel a little overwhelming, and like maybe it's like, oh, it's just easier to just keep the peace, just like let it flow, like just let it, like play out or roll out. And it's like hereby, really tomorrow afternoon, we're gonna, with that Venus opposing that Pluto that's retrograde in Aquarius, I mean, it's gonna be easy to see, or at least there's gonna be an intuitive sense like, what's off in my life with my relationships when it comes to prosperity, when it comes to projects. But I would say more so just the deterministic set with Venus coming into Leo of like our passion. Like, where have we lost our center with our passion? Where have we deviated from our value system because of what other people are doing, what is going on in the rest of the collective? This is a good look at, do we feel courageous enough and heart-centered enough and embodied enough and rooted enough to feel strong in a both masculine and feminine way, that we're not disrupted by any collective fears that are happening with Pluto and Aquarius, that we see that there is, I guess you'd call it, light everywhere. I mean, the sun is home in Leo, and so with Venus coming here, it's like, and the sun will be joining it soon once we go into Leo season, as we're wrapping up Cancer season here. So I think right now it's like we have to just honor, all the emotions that are coming up, because what I haven't mentioned is with that Mars approaching Uranus, it's tough too, because it's like surprises, disruptions happen, but with it being Mars I may have mentioned this yesterday. It's like we can't like force the change just to like try to like shift the physical reality like too quickly. And so I think this is a really interesting in between moment where I think the changes have to be more connected to what we need in our personal reality, and then it's not so much about change to do with other people. That it's like if you're thinking of making an outside change, I would say especially around, you know, relationship, money, people situations, just like not tiptoe, but see that it's maybe a frequency change of like finding your center first, and that it's actually addressing the subconscious pattern and behavior, you know, that it's not the thing outside of yourself that is like causing you to feel a certain way, that it's much deeper than that. And so I think we almost have to use these moments in a weird way of being okay with like making our best choices when it does come to actions, and knowing that there's uncertainty, and that as long as we know our worth, we know what our personal values are, and that we're not settling for some basically Humpty Dumpty bullshit, you know, like seesawing back and forth on whether or not we're going to own fully our value and nourish that at a deep soul level, like for that choice. I think, you know, we have to know, we got to know our value. And I think the confidence really comes more so from the emotional rooting of things, of being like, okay, like, this is who I am, this is what I'm about, this is my value, this is my skill set, and to just keep going with it. And even though it can feel like the Wild West, and it can feel like, you know, with this Jupiter aspects in Gemini, it's like, gosh, is the change, is the world, is it actually ever going to show up in my backyard? Is it ever actually going to be the thing? Or is it just a continuous journey of getting familiar with the same things every day? And in essence, that's what it is, what I was describing, where it's like, I think it's more so about our own pattern changes, getting to know our own mindsets. Again, it reminds me, I've mentioned this in other videos, it reminds me of like the Joe Dispenza type work, you know, where it's like breaking the habit of being yourself, where it's like, I think we have to be really observant of where our thoughts are going, and to not sweep them into the closet, so to speak, in the room, just to be like, oh, everything's okay, everything's okay. And really, it's more of a time to see that there has to be, I think, discernment between what is actually choosing an authentic vibration versus like what's just like a subconscious stimulating hunky-dory, everything is fine. And I think the difference is going to be between what is factually checking out in our reality of like, is it actually fine? And then also like actually feeling into the vibration in the body and actually knowing what's going on there, and not just like using the mind to not fact check and to just like be happy and stimulated and be like, oh, it's all cool, and actually go into, okay, well, this is what's going on, and like what is the roots of my being, what is my body saying, and really roll with that, because that's really going to be the thing that propels anyone out of any feelings of stuck energy, especially since Saturn went retrograde. And really just to show up, even though things are freaking messy, they're not perfect, and that it's, you know, it's hard. It's like we want the manifestation maybe so that we can feel comfortable right now with Venus at the end of Cancer, but it's a little bit more of like really taking a sense of responsibility, a sense of mastery for our true authentic frequency that we're putting out into our environment first, you know, paying attention to how we feel in different places. That's going to be a reflection point of like what we're feeling in our auric field, and that we can tune in and be like, okay, what am I feeling? Like, what do I need to, you know, what action do I need to take? What internal transformational shift, either an identity or value system, is fluctuating? And then really feel into that, and then have the courage to start to lean into basically like putting the pieces in place for those changes. So it's your horoscope for today. It's an interesting one, but this is interesting astrology. So if you guys want to get a natal chart reading, you can click on the link down below. If you want to get a deep dive astrology reading, that link will be below as well. That's where show how the cycles are impacting you and what you're going through on a more personal level, as this is, of course, the collective astrology. So love you all. Have a great Wednesday. See you tomorrow.